Hi folks, well it's Saturday the 25th of October and it's another beautiful day in the UK. The sun is out, it's gorgeous in the garden. I've been promising it for a couple of months now, but I think it's finally time I do my how do I mix my nutrients video. Seems that everyone that does hydroponics on YouTube sooner or later does a how I do it video, and given that my tomatoes are still doing quite well, I think I'm probably qualified to say here's how I do it now. So here's the rundown then. This is not going to be a small list. First of all, we've got 2-part fertiliser, Aqua Vega. Now this is for vegetative growth. It came in 2 bottles and it was pretty cost effective, which is why I went for it. So that's for things that are doing leafy growth or bulbs and stems and things like that. Onions, garlic, potatoes, anything that's kind of underground roots and leafy growth wants the Aqua Vega stuff. The other thing I have is this Aqua Flores, which is for things that do flowering growth, and fruiting as well, so tomatoes, strawberries, peppers, things like that. Once they've finished, once they reach the point where they start flowering, switch over from the Aqua Vega to the Aqua Flores, and again that is a 2-part solution. So that's the main fertiliser for them. Then we've got a variety of other additives in here. We've got this rhizotonic stuff. This is basically to help the root system. This is magic stuff to make roots grow better and help the plant put roots out and keep the roots nice and healthy. We also have Canna, which is one of these enzymes that breaks down dead root matter and turns it back into plant food. And we've got Canna Boost, which is some people add molasses to their fertiliser, and I think this is the same sort of thing. It's oligosaccharides. It's a bunch of plant sugars. It's kind of like cut flower food, I guess, for plants. It makes many of the same sort of claims as harpin protein does. 20% bigger crops, better tasting, things like that. But this is all the extra bits that the plant doesn't really need, but it seems to grow a lot better with that. And the last thing I have is some pH down, which my tap water is really quite alkaline. I've never yet needed to pH up anything, but I do pH down regularly, and I have both straight pH down and also 10:1 diluted pH down, and I use those at different stages of when I mix things up. Yeah, there's one more that I'd forgotten to say. This is PK1314. This is potassium and phosphorus and nothing else. This is just a little boost to the plants. When the flowers first start forming, they get this in their solution for a week, and it promotes more and more flowers and more growth. And I need a camera with a wider angle lens on this. I've got my head in a tomato to get this shot. Here's a look at the total of what I'm putting in there. So the first thing I do when I'm mixing up my nutrients is to get some water on the go. Now I make a whole 50-litre barrel of water all in one go. So because this is a 2-part fertiliser, it's important that these parts get mixed in equal quantities. And what's also important is that you get rid of all the chlorine out of your tap water first. Now I do this by just dropping an air stone in there and turning the air stone on for an hour or so. The alternative is you can just leave it sitting there for about 24 hours, and over that time all the chlorine gas dissolved in the water will break free and be released into the atmosphere. Now it's important to do this because this 2-part fertiliser, half the salts are in one side and half the chemicals are in the other, and they're designed to mix together, but some of the nutrients within there, some of the salts within there, will actually bond with chlorine instead. So if you've got lots of chlorine in your water, you need to get rid of the chlorine first, in order that when you do mix the nutrient salts in, they don't bond with the chlorine and they do mix with each other properly, and you don't get the salt killing your plants off, because sodium and chlorine obviously makes salt. Now while I've got my water bubbling away here for an hour, not that I've got the bubbles on right now because I just want you to be able to hear me, I tend to do a rough pH balancing. At this stage I'm just looking to get the pH to drop below 7. So anywhere between 7 and 6 is what I'm after here. I do a more controlled pH balancing once I've put the nutrients in, but because the nutrients are actually pH buffered anyway, don't often need much of this. I'll just give that a tiny drip. Some phosphoric acid in there, which is why I'm wearing the gloves. I just don't want to get it on my fingers. So after a pretty random addition there, we've got a pH of 6.3, which is well, ideal as a starting point before I mix my nutrients up. Okay, it's been an hour of bubbling away now and I still haven't got around to having a beer yet, but I have emptied out my DWC buckets and I've drained them into there. So that's last week's nutrient. Actually, that's the week before last, because my little sticky label here tells me that on the 12th of the 10th I had this at an EC of 1.5 and a pH of 5.8. So that was 2 weeks ago, nearly 2 weeks ago, when I put that solution in there. And see how hungry the plants have been. We're now down to an EC of 0.9 on there. So we've gone from 1.5 to 0.9 on the EC. They've been eating their food like good little plants. And the pH has 6.1. So I'm going to put the same amount of water in this next container now, of my bubbled water, and I'll mix up some new nutrients for them and I'll show you how I do that. So I'm just going to fill that up by eye to the same level as the nutrient tank that it's come out of. I reckon there's about 15 litres in there. So one of the reasons, in fact probably the main reason I went with all this Canna range of products, was that I found this crib sheet online by Jeff, Mountaineer and Climber, Mountaineer and Grower. Canna do a variety of these, and lots of the Canna stockists and resellers do their own ones, so I've got a similar sheet recommended for peppers. I found this was absolutely essential for me, since I had no clue what I was doing. I'm going to need 37.5 millilitres of this for the 15 litres. 25. And 12.5. 37.5 of Aquaflores A. 37.5 of Aquaflores B. 7.5 ml of the root growth stimulator. Then I need 37.5 of Canazyme. 25. 12.5. And then I need 30 of Boost. 30. Back on 35 of Boost. So I'm expecting this to give me an EC of somewhere around about 1.5, 1.6. And we're hitting an EC of 1.5 there. And we've got a pH reading of 6.6 at the moment. And this is where I now use my dilute, 10:1 diluted pH down, because now we're dealing with much smaller quantities of water to dilute things in, and we're much closer to the rain, so now I can just add a few millilitres of that. I'm looking for 6.0, just give it one tiny bit more. There we are, 6.0 now. And then all I need to do is pump those back in again. Right, that's it for today, folks. See you next time. Cheers!